Okay, we're live. We're going to wait for some people to get here, and I'm going to set up my other phone, per usual. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, sounds good. Okay. Per usual, going to do a little cleanup here while we're starting. Hey, Ken. Hey, Mark. Hey, Adirondax. I actually had a pretty interesting day. For me, I mean, I guess. Hey, Larry. I'm going to end up sharpening this chain again while we're chatting. Video good, audio good. Good. 7 people watching already. Who else is here? Got dizzy. Bucket Billy Ray live. Oh yeah. Was he up in a tree probably? Hey Multi. Just for the record, Multi, it is Dr. Matt. Mr. Olson is my grandfather. You don't have to call me Dr. Matt. Matt's just fine. But if we're being formal, that is the way it is. The only people I make call me doctor are telemarketers. Getting dizzy just in his shop, really? Yeah, I know he's got a lot of viewers. I've tuned in a number of times. So I wanted to tell you guys about my interesting day, and I also did have a request to go live tonight, so whatever. 8 people. I guess we'll get going. Have you made any videos of setting up the carb with the adjustment screws? No. M. Weeba has probably like the best video on carburetor setup with that. Like a telethon, you get to hit the $10 donation, as he calls it, a sawbuck. I don't think I'm there yet. Yeah, M. Weeba has probably, he's got a really great video on basically a carburetor tutorial on exactly how to tune a chainsaw. You know, for me to do it is kind of like reinventing the wheel, and I also definitely don't consider myself an expert on that anyway. Anyway, I'll just explain to you my day. I did think it was interesting. So, so this 385 here literally got run over by a wood chipper, and I needed to change out the crankcases, and so I did that. Bearing seals, you know, and rebuilt the whole thing. Brand new top cover, brand new starter cover, brand new clutch cover because that got really crunched, and a number of other pieces in here. So it came to a quite a expensive repair. But the crankcase that I got was actually pretty good, except this was stripped out. And this particular bolt hole ends up stripping out pretty often, as they're noticed on like 372s in particular. For whatever reason, that one ends up stripped out. So it's mainly because there's, you know, quite a bit of tension here from the chain brake, I think, and it just wallows eventually. So I tried putting a helicoil in it. It didn't work. The hole was way too wallowed even for a 5mm helicoil, which is technically M6 by 0.8 on the tap. So I tried JB welding it in there. That didn't work. And I was out cutting with it today just to test it, and the whole thing like fell out. My dad found it with a magnet. Unbelievably. Hey, John's here. Okay, good. Yeah, Ken, I am not a super expert on chainsaw tuning. I'm just not. So I definitely don't claim to be that person, and that's probably I like the video from Amweba. I just do. So I follow that basically best I can, and that's that. And yes, John, I did get the pick, but it was really kind of blurry. So I don't. You might have something upside down there. I don't know. Anyway, so I was trying to do the repair here, and I was thinking, you know, what if I use some threaded rod? Because I've been using threaded rod a lot lately. Hey, Doug. Yeah, time certs, I know they're supposedly really good. I have not gotten into time certs yet. I was just using helicoils, but this one was too wallowed for even a helicoil, so you need something oversized. So what I did was I took some 5/16 threaded rod, drilled a hole down the middle, and tapped it. And then what I did was I just cut off a small piece, tapped that for 5/16, put in the tiny piece with some Loctite. That's holding perfect. Perfect. Like, that is solid. So in case anybody wants to do a repair like that, a threaded rod actually, it made a brilliant solution really quickly. I literally just threw this on the lathe, center drill, drilled in, you know, whatever the appropriate drill size was. I forget what it was, and then just a hand tap on there and cut off a piece. You got it. Yeah, there's time certs. There's also some other thread lock, easy lock, which I haven't tried yet. I figured that might work. Really, ideally, you're supposed to weld it shut and then redo it, but I yeah, this is just threaded rod. I mean, this is nothing special. I actually tried it with 1/4 inch too, but 1/4 inch was a lot like M6. Actually, it fell right through, so it didn't hold at all. But I did get, I was able to actually tap this for 5/16, so that worked perfect. I watched the Terrell Fixes All video today on tires, actually. And there's your dinner. I forget what video I was watching. It actually, he made a mistake. He showed himself without the teeth. It was like one of those very rare moments where you see him without the teeth. But in case anybody hasn't seen it, I did a video on seal installation on my Briggs & Stratton lawnmower engine, and I showed how to use the Coke can technique to avoid the seal prolapsing like Terrell shows. So in Terrell's videos, he's actually got the seal prolapsing and popping out that silly spring in there. So I showed you how to I show how to avoid that in a in a video, and it was actually the first video I shot that used my new microphone with the GoPro. So go check that out if you search for for me and just Briggs, and it should come up. Anyway, so I thought this was really cool. The saw actually worked really good today. I was quite surprised. I got it tuned yesterday and then took it out, and my dad's got these like 3-foot rounds, oak rounds that he can't hardly move, so we were basically chop it down the center and then sideways, and you get 4 pieces of a pie. Fix a Toro Time Master. What's that? Just gonna put this on here. I took the bar out just to fit it in my car. Forgot the chain. The chain worked great. I cut quite a bit with this, and it was really sharp. It was nice. Still feels pretty sharp. A 30. Oh, walk around. Okay. Some of Terrell's videos are really useful. I have a hard time getting past the odd humor, but some of them are really quite helpful. So let's see, what else did I do today? Tools update, right? Tools update. Tools update. Here we go. So these are sleeves, and this is actually a couple of stages. So I just take and mill that slot, and then you do a single cut down, and now we've got, this is actually a small sleeve. So I've got a number of these now in stock. We're still waiting on the rods, but I do have news on that. So I heard from the machinist today, and there's actually 2 machinists that I'm working with, and they're effectively going to tag team this. Matt, you're a great mechanic. Thank you, Multi. I'm I don't really think of myself as a mechanic, but thank you. Anyway, so these guys are actually tag teaming the rods, the threaded rods. So the threads are cut, they are delivered. I was told by one guy, the guy with the CNC, that he's going to do the first stage, which is literally just drilling the blanks, so they're all drilled and ready to go. The second guy is going to do all the tapping. The first guy said that he was 2 weeks out to actually do the drilling. And so what I was trying to do was work out with the second guy if he could do just a couple of the rods to get me going. Today I heard that the first guy is going to squeeze me in sooner than the 2 weeks. So there's no point in jumping ahead. So that's awesome. Chain looks too tight. You think so? I better loosen that thing up. Shoot. Does everybody have a favorite screwdriver for tightening chains? Is it just me? I don't use a scrunch. I don't even know where I got this thing. The old Stanley screw flat blade. I don't know. My 30-year-old tack looks like crap. Need a new one. What is best? I don't know. A hand or two in the gap. You got to fit the hand in there. That's important. No, don't listen to him, anybody. Just want to tighten it again. Or sharpen it again, rather. Not tighten it. Sharp. Don't need to make it super tight right now. TT20K. Still a tad too loose. I don't worry about that for now. Just want to sharpen it up a little bit while I'm chatting with you guys. Oh, that's pretty sharp. Let's see. Man, that's still darn grabby, if you ask. Oh, geez. You know, I'm not even going to sharpen it. Ran about a tank through it today. But that is really darn sharp. Usually I like to just kiss it once a tank, but I really don't need it. Yeah, Ken, eventually I need a tack too. I don't have one. See, Multi, there goes the Matt, you're a great mechanic. Comment. Don't even have a tack. What do you listen to him for? So flipping a bar can take out drift when the chain is sharp. I guess so. You know, I just don't use bars I just don't cut that much. So I know there are guys that recommend flipping the bar. I just have never done it. I don't cut that much. Besides, when you go to get-togethers, you don't want it upside down. It's got to be upright, you know. I have filed down bars before that had really significant ridges in them. So there definitely is that you need to do. You know, if you roll a bead on the side, you got to take the flat file and go down and make sure it's all good. Hello, William. But by and large, I don't. I also haven't had bars for that long of a period of time. Usually what I've done is I'll have a bar for a little while, use it for a bit, and then one of the tree guys needs one, so it goes off to him type of thing. So I never you wear out bars. It just doesn't happen. $100 for a tack, huh? Oh shoot, we have 15 people here now. Hey guys, who else is here? I was planning on doing a little bit of sharpening here, but I really don't think I need to do that. I think it's time to send this saw down the road here, and yeah. Filter changer, me lurky. Okay, keep lurking. I'm just kidding. You're welcome to talk. I don't want to hear the sound of my voice all night. I am going to hear the sound of my voice all night. Lovely. Can't put that there. Just put this down the side here. We don't have to look at that all night. What else do I have to do? 17 people. Johnny Vance and Patrick O'Donohue. Hey, guys. So I was just explaining to everybody, for the people that missed it, two things. One, my interesting day, which had to do with fixing something with threaded rod. I'll bring this out because everybody hasn't seen it. Fixing something with threaded rod. Let me get the helicoils out so people understand. Hang on. I've been using helicoils with some level of success for a little while. But I had an instance where the helicoil was actually, where the hole was so wallowed out, the helicoil just wobbled in it. Hey, Joshua. Building saws. Can you explain briefly what is all involved? No. Briefly is basically impossible. But building saw is very different than 4-cycle motors. So I have done quite a bit with cars. Never done transmissions, but I've certainly done brakes and suspension and filters, and I've pulled the PCV systems at the Volvo. I've pulled the front bumper off 3 times, the radiators. So I'm, fairly familiar with working with automobiles, and saws is quite different. So if you're looking at building saws, you have to understand that it is an exceptionally unlikely collection of parts. I'm always surprised that the things actually run at all, because if you look at all the pieces, parts that it takes to get them together, and everything that's got to go right, it is always a miracle that they run. My opinion. It's a part of what makes them so interesting. Should fix wood chippers if they would fit down the basement stairs. Yeah. Probably not. Anyway, so what's involved in building saws, you really have to experience it to understand what's involved, because you can get the whole thing together and think it's all good and then it not run at all. And it's usually something stupid. But then you have to figure it out, because it could be one of 200 different things. So it's interesting, and it's also frustrating. And the nice thing about these Chinese kits that you can buy is that you can get them and put together a couple $100 worth of parts and have a good time doing it. Learn a whole lot. It's all clean. You don't have to be cleaning all kinds of gunk off saws like I do. So there's some benefits there, and you can learn what actually is involved. The other thing that the reason I kind of have a channel is because I've been reading on the forums like every day for years, and there needs to be a repository of information somewhere, so it's here. But if you want to know what's involved in building saws, just watch my videos and you'll see what I do step by step, what works, what doesn't. I don't have super comprehensive everything, but it's darn close. What do the tools do that you sell? My tools are crankcase assembly tools, And just to explain really fast what they do, for those people that haven't seen it before, and I'm going to get to this in a second, but just so for the people that are here that didn't hear what I said earlier with what I was doing, that's a helicoil. This is a thread repair. So if you have an M5 hole, M5 by 0.8, if you have an M5 hole, which are pretty typical on both steels and Husqvarnas, if it's wallowed out and doesn't want to hold the thread, what you do is you take and first drill it, tap it with, this is a proprietary tap, just so everybody knows. You can't just go buy these. I've tried. There is a part number on here for M5 that is 2087-5. Anyway, this is effectively an M6 tap with a 0.8 thread, which is not normal for M6. M6 usually has 1.0 for thread. Anyway, drill it, tap it, put the helicoil in, and you have a thread repair. Now this will hold an M5 bolt. But what if it's wallowed? What if the hole is wallowed even beyond the tap? If you can take this tap and slide it in and out of the hole, but you need an M5 bolt to get in there, what are you going to do? And I was having that trouble on a crankcase. It was actually this hole right here, and you can actually see this is a junk case, but this one's already been repaired with a helicoil. But what if this was effectively too big? You want to do it? You want to do this live, guys? We can do that. Let's do that. Let's play with this threaded rod. We'll do it live and have some fun. So I'll be able to explain exactly what I did today. And it's not a new idea. I'm pretty sure I'm not stealing anybody's idea. I have seen Mastermind do something similar on one of his build threads, and it was specifically for the bolt holes on a steel. Now, on Huskies, these are tapped in, but for steel, they're actually threaded, and he was doing a repair. I think it was on a steel or a Dolmar. I don't remember. Please don't quote me on that. So this is not necessarily, what I'm going to do is not necessarily a new idea. Okay, tools, I'll explain them real quick. We're going to get the S070 for first kit 660. What do we have? Chain spot mill. For attack, I just want to try to read some things here and try to catch up to you guys. I like the 660 kit a lot. I'm not sure that an 070 is a very practical saw otherwise, other than for milling. I don't have one. I have not tried one. It's very bulky and heavy for the power that you get. So I don't know if I can't honestly say that I would have an 070 as a first kit. I do like the 660 kits quite a bit, and would definitely suggest that. But it depends on what you're trying to mill. So I've limited experience with chainsaw milling. I like my bandsaw mill. After my limited experience with chainsaw milling, I think pretty much anybody that does regular chainsaw milling needs to get their head checked, or they're hopefully using chainsaw mills for what they're good for, and that's that ultra portability, which is really important, and hopefully wide slabs. And if you're doing a wide slab, it's going to take you a long time to get through that silly cut. You better have everything just super straight and ready to go and super sharp and all that stuff. Because I've gone through oak that's, 10, 11, 12 feet long. That's, say, 25, 26 inches wide. It's a 40-minute cut, 2 tanks of gas for a single cut. You screw something up and you got to start all over. It's bad. I've done it. So I like my bandsaw mill a whole lot. If you're making dimensional lumber, get an inexpensive bandsaw mill. I would highly suggest that. Chainsaw milling is not where it's at if you're making dimensional lumber in pretty much any amount. So, tools. Assembly of chainsaw crankcases is one of the hardest and most frustrating things about chainsaws in general. I think. I think this is very frustrating for people. Some guys make it look easy. I know there are certain people that on with us right now that would disagree with me on this, but John, you know who you are. There are some people that love to do the hot and cold method. So, but I'm going to demonstrate this really quick so you see exactly what's up and why this is so frustrating for some people. So this is actually a splitter. This is available directly from Husqvarna. You can get these from Husqvarna, or you can get them from China. It's up to you. I'm just going to split this is just for demonstration purposes. This is a Husqvarna 372 crankcase. This is a junk crankcase and just for demonstration purposes. I've done this now, I don't know, probably 50, maybe 75 times. Okay, so here's the thing about chainsaw crankcases. You got a crank, you've got a bearing. The bearing has to be fully seated wherever you want in the pocket there. Let me come down just a little bit on the video. Get a little straighter here. Beams for timber frame pine. Yeah, if you're doing timber framing, you need a bandsaw mill. My opinion. By the time you spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of frustration, holy cow. My opinion, get a bandsaw mill. You can get the cheap Harbor Freight one if you want. It's going to save your butt. Okay, so anyway. Crank, bearings, case halves. The professional, most of the professional models of chainsaw that I know of come in 2 case halves. This is the traditional way 2-cycle motors are put together. So, if you try to get this together, it's not going to go. It's not going to fit. Why? Because the bearings need to be press fit onto the crank. So if you are trying to do that, now there's any number of ways you can do it. Many guys have done, over the years, used presses. They do the hot-cold thing. Hot-cold means that you chill one side and heat one side up. And once it's hot to like 250, 300 degrees, then you put it together. I used to do that. I've heated up case halves in ovens, tried to chill cranks in the freezer. All takes time. Frankly, I think that it's dangerous because of the heat. And it's not controlled. You have to work quite quickly, otherwise you lose your temperature differential. So if I press like this, is that good for the bearings? Probably not. Now, bearings do have a certain amount of axial load, but for rating. But if you are pressing like this, you're actually pushing the inner race this way, and the outer race that way, and the balls in the races don't like that. It's just not meant for that. So if you use a press, you're actually doing 2 things. You're pushing against the balls against the races in a wrong way, number 1. Number 2, the lobes here, let's see if I can pop this back off real quick. The crank lobes effectively get moved slightly. Not much. It might not be much, but they might get moved slightly. So that's one of the issues with doing presses, is that if you're pressing things together, then you're putting extra forces on the crank and the bearings, and that's not necessarily good for it. So what's the solution? The answer is, I have the solution, more or less. So the answer is a set of crank tools that, hopefully this actually works. Yeah. It has to be the right one. So, rods, sleeves. This particular rod goes on M8 by 1.0. And this crank is a little screwed up, making the demo a little bit difficult, but that's okay. So, rod goes on, the threaded rod goes on, the ends are tapped. This is M8 by 1, this is M10 by 1, both right hand. Left hand thread over here on the cranks. Sleeve goes on, handle goes in. Just a bolt, but it's used as a handle so that you can leave this hand free. Nut. Now, I don't have to worry about something being heated, something being cooled. I don't have to hurry. You can hurry if you want, but there's no particular rush here. You can do this in as controlled of a manner as you like. And this, doing it this way, puts exactly 0 stress on the bearings, because the sleeve pushes against the inner race and pulls the crank through the inner race. There is no net force on the balls of the bearings. And you just crank it down. And this hand is free to adjust the connecting rod if you need to make sure the positioning pins are in the right spot, which is really important, by the way. There's no waiting for a heat gun. There's no putting something in the freezer. It's more controlled, it's safer, it's overall faster, I think, and probably more accurate. Multi-chain said, thanks guys. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to providing these for you guys, because this is really a very niche product. Most, trying to get this off. This crank is messed up. It's a very niche product. The dealers are not doing rebuilds. Dealers do not want this kit. It's only the hobbyists. So this is not one of those kits. This is not one of those tools, a product that has lots of universal appeal. I figure that maybe there's use for 1,000 of these kits worldwide. Maybe. How many people are really putting together chainsaws? Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. Maybe the chainsaw kit craze will really, really catch on, and the tools will really catch on. But I still can't see more than a few thousand units ever. I know that they said that about the television too, but I can't see it. So this is not not ultimately a huge moneymaker for me, but I'm having a great time meeting all kinds of people and talking to all kinds of people. Talking to you guys is just giving me a huge kick. How much are they? So if you email me, I will send you the form letter, which explains it a little better. And what I'll do is I'm going to put my email in here. Just take out all the ampersands. You need to get some punches to strike on the sides of tools with the saw brands or model numbers they work with. Well, that's the thing, is they don't. That's the thing. They fit where they fit. So both Steel and Husky use M8 and M10 on their flywheel, but it depends on the saw. So like a 660 uses it, uses M10, but the 440 uses M8. These guys have all done weird stuff too on some of the newer stuff, so I've tried to make the tool set as universal as possible. So here's how it goes down for the pricing and everything. There really is pretty much one flywheel side rod. It's a small rod, it fits in both the large and the small sleeves. So maybe a large sleeve. It fits in both the large and the small sleeve. If it fits sloppy in the large sleeve, who cares? It won't matter. If it's a big saw with a big bearing, you use the big sleeve. Do not make the mistake of trying to get this, the small, onto a crank that uses a 6203 bearing. You're gonna mushroom this. Don't do that. Big saw, big sleeve. So, flywheel side rod, 2 sleeves. This will do 90% or more of the chainsaws you're going to rebuild for flywheel side. There are exceptions to that. We'll talk about that in a minute. You get 3 other rods, M10, M12, and M14. They are double enders. They cover, again, about 90% of the chainsaws that everybody's rebuilding. So 372s, 660s, let's see, what else? 394s, 262s, 288s, 036s, 044s, 3120. You know, some weird exceptions. The Husky 242 is a weird saw. It uses a odd flywheel side thread. It's actually M8 by 1.25, which is weird. And then it uses coarse thread, United, was it UNC 3/8 left hand. So I actually have a special small rod that's just dedicated to 242s, and you can buy that separately. That is not included in the regular kit. Regular kit. And there are other exceptions. We'll explain that a little bit. So regular kit. Rod, flywheel side rod, 2 sleeves, 3 clutch side rods, M10, M12, and M14. Just different ends on each. So it's 6 different 6 different ends on those. Nuts, washers, handles, whatever you need, all go in there. That is $170 shipped. If you want, like for instance, the 242 rod specifically, that's an additional $30. If you want there's one exception on the sleeves, and that is the 880. So the 880 needs a even bigger sleeve for just the clutch side because it has an abnormally large bearing. The 880 sleeve is $30 additional. Most guys aren't building 880s, so if you don't need it, you don't need it. Yes, I do take PayPal. What you do is email me, and I'll send you the form letter, which explains everything. The issue I'm having right now is I haven't had stock of these things for 4 months. I have not heard from the machinist I was working with for the last year. I've not heard from in over 4 months. Or at least darn close to 4 months now. He has all of my taps. He has a whole pile of stuff. I was supposed to get an additional shipment from him. Never happened. I don't know what's going on. He's out in Ohio. I'm moving on. Very simple. So right now I am in process of working with somebody more local. And we are this close to actually having stock. So I'm not taking pre-orders necessarily. I'm not taking anybody's money right now because I want to make darn sure I can actually deliver on this. But I am getting people on the list, and the sooner you get on the list, the better, the bigger the priority. Now I'm going to tell everybody that if you're already on the list, I'm going to email you when I get this stuff in stock. When I have it in my hand, I'm going to get this stuff in stock. Those people that are early on the list are going to have 24 hours to get me move on to other people, assuming I have limited stock the day it shows up. If I get up, then everybody's going to have plenty. So maybe he died. I think he's on like a 4-month bender, but that I don't know. Okay, so is there any weight? I hope there's minimal weight at this point. The machinist is fairly local, and earlier in the video I said that there are two guys tag teaming it. One guy is a CNC guy, and he actually is just taking the rods and drilling the ends and drilling the center hole here on literally almost 300 rods. It's a lot of it's a lot of rods. Anyway, actually close to 250, whatever. So it's a bunch of rods. He's going to do all of them, and then he's going to hand them off to the next guy, and the next guy is actually going to do the tapping. So the first guy told me that we are effectively about 2 weeks out from him getting to the project. So I talked to the second guy and said, can you get me, 5 or 10 kits, do the whole job yourself, even though it costs a little more money. He just got back to me today and said that the CNC guy is bumping me up on the list. So it'll be within 2 weeks to get the blanks actually pre-drilled, and then hopefully fairly rapidly after that to get the tapping done. These guys don't have lots on their plate right now, which is awesome. So I should be able to get this. Literally, we're within weeks, not within months. This is weeks. One of my fans could go to Ohio and knock on the guy's door. If you want to go knock on his door, go crazy. I was actually thinking about it if I was going to go down to Mastermind's get together, but that didn't happen. So it's just too busy around here. I really wanted to go, but on the way to Tennessee, you stop by Ohio. Makes sense, right? You could put an ad in the Power Equipment magazine, I guess. Again, advertising costs money. This is not a project that you spend lots of money on because I have trouble delivering stock to the people that I've had trouble delivering product to people from the beginning. It didn't matter who was doing the job. From the beginning, it took months to get this stuff made. I'm really hoping that I've got a better source now so that I can just keep going. Did I invent the tools myself? Yes. Sort of. Always credit where credit's due. So I saw the Husqvarna shop tools. I think Walt had them demonstrated on his channel. And one thing that I noticed about the Husqvarna shop tools is that, let's see if I can... So they have a thing that you screw on, and then a piece that goes over, and then you have to hold one end with an open-ended wrench, and then screw the other down with an open-ended wrench. And I looked at that and I said, well, that's kind of awkward. Is there any other way to do it? And Walt actually does make tools, and if anybody wants to go to his channel, you're welcome to do that. A Fleet Command is Walt, and I think he's a great guy. He's just fun to listen to. Of tools that I know that he makes and sells. One thing that he has on his tools, which I thought was super useful and did incorporate into this design, is a handle. He's got a handle. It's a big long thing that drapes way out here, and he still uses an open-ended wrench to effectively use his crank jack. That's what he calls it. I figured make the handle integral in the middle, like that. So Walt came up with the idea of the handle. My design was the sleeve, and I was really hoping to have just one sleeve. And as it turns out, I don't need one, I need 3. And I've had it suggested before that I have one piece like this and adapters, and as it turns out, it's actually cheaper to machine multiple sleeves than it is to machine some funny adapter thing, because there's actually fewer cuts in this than it is. The materials cost is almost negligible compared to the amount of machine time, if that makes any sense. So the sleeve was effectively my idea, as far as I know. I don't think anybody's come up with something quite like that before. No, I don't have a patent, just so everybody knows. No, I do not have a patent on this. If you want to go make this yourself, make it yourself. Am I going to make blueprints available to you? No, I'm not. But, you know, there's nothing stopping you from taking this design and going ahead and making it yourself. What I can tell you is that based on the difficult time that I've had making these, getting these made, you're going to have a hell of a time too. One of the problems with these things is trying to get the taps that govern these threads. If you are going to buy a tap that is an American-made tap that's M14 by 1.25 left hand, you're going to spend between 50 and 80 bucks. Or you can get them from China, and then you're going to spend like 20 bucks, and it'll take weeks for you to get it. And then it's going to show up, and you'll be like, why did they send me a right-handed tap? Believe me, I've had that happen before. Drives me nuts. So yeah, email me. I don't know if this is buffering. Email me. I put my email in the comments there. I will send you the form letter and just read through the whole thing, and then you can get back to me if you want to be on the list. I will put you on the list to contact when I actually have stock. So does anybody want to do an insert? Why not, right? Let's do it up here. Okay, let's do it. Just thinking, like, if I can get this helicoil out. Preferably without breaking anything. I might not be able to. I can just lift that out. It'd be good to do that. Maybe just drill it out. I don't know. How about I just drill it out? Use a 5/16 tap. Quarter inch might be a little big. Ken, what drill size for a 5/16 tap? You need to break it to, yes, well, this is it's a junk case, so it doesn't matter. And this is going into an existing helicoil. It is not going to screw into the stainless. Come on. I have an idea. Let's use the other one. Yes, I've had F drill. I don't have an F drill. Have I had a, yes, strip spark plug hole? Yes, I have. Now I got to get out my big set of taps here. Where is that? Why is it down there? I don't know. 5/16, 18. I think that's the one. That'll work. Quarter inch will work, yeah. Okay, so this is a little small. But it's magnesium, it'll cut. So I've got this tapped now to 5/16 coarse thread. That's kind of annoying. That's interesting. Okay. So now I can take my rod here. I'm actually going to use my M5 tap on this. Will I be able to hold it by hand? Probably not. So I need to double nut it. That way I can hold on to this. Is my 5/16 stuff already out? I don't know. Why am I talking to myself? Here it is. Break the chip. Cool. Nine sixteenths. Nope. Half inch. Half inch. Take half inch and 13 millimeter. I got just a double nut on here so I can hold it. Now I can tap this. Of course, you can put this in a vise too. Just want to make sure that there's enough ground out of here. The other one I actually tapped right in the lathe, and that was pretty nice. I didn't tap it with the lathe, I just, yeah. Anyway. I know, tap magic, yes. So this will be fine for what we're doing. Use a hacksaw if you like. Actually, before I do that, you need a notch right in the center, which is easiest to do with the Dremel, by the way. Put that up there for a moment. Dremel out. You need a spot for the flat blade, that's all. So you have to do is just cut a notch in here for your flat blade. Doesn't need to be that deep. I'll just use the cutoff wheel, might as well here. It's gonna be hot. Put a brake cleaner action on it to cool it down. Red Loctite. Now you can just take this steel piece. Oh, here, let's put that. Assuming you threaded it correctly. Cut this a little short. Sorry. There. What I also like to do with the Loctite is put it right around the threads as it's so it draws it in as it's going in. Wrong one. And let that set. Yeah, it's a bottoming tap. Flat bottom tap. That's what I call it. Which, in my case, literally is just a ground down, I guess, through hole tap. Because I've got lots of M5 taps, so decided to make that one. Yes, irony. Sounds like going down to that D word. Anyway. So, there's your fix. And if you let that set, then you can just screw your M5 right into that, whatever that is. Gotta let it set first, but that ain't coming out. So once you get that, once it's all set up, there's your fix. You know, you could put that in with JB Quick Weld. That worked too. But that's a whole lot better solution than a helicoil, I think. And assuming you get all the stuff, that's nearly free. Welcome, Multi. I learned too. This is a really kind of a crappy job. I loved Mastermind's post when he did it. It was really just nice and neat looking. But this is way stronger than even the magnesium was. So that's not going to move. It's not going to go anywhere. Can you get it back for the next fix? What do you mean? Is it retrievable? Use 3/8 threaded rod. You keep going up. I don't know. That you want to let set in there. If you're like me, I mean, that 385 is never gonna get fixed unless it comes back to me. So I don't need to worry about somebody else trying to undo that. Isn't it garbage now, the case? Well, the case itself is garbage. Like, we started with a garbage case here. I don't know how fast red light deflectite sets up, but this is going to go all the way through. Can I get in there? Yeah. So if need be, you can get this back out. Not a problem at all. Garbage case with a new part. Well, this is for demonstration purposes. $19 people here. Who else is here? What do you guys want to know about? What do you want to hear about? Yeah, the slot that I have in it, you just put a flat blade in it and turn it out. So it makes it real easy. In here. Now back to what William was asking about the cylinder heads with a spark plug hole that's stripped. I actually have a kit to do that. And that's right here. 1, 2. I have a number of these things, but these are Save-A threads. And what those do is those remount the hole. I got another one. Those remount the hole a little bit bigger, and then you put in an insert. So I have other inserts, but the inserts look like this, and you screw this down flush, and then what you do is you take this mandrel and you whack it, bam, 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 and what it does is it's got teeth here, and the teeth spread out. I like putting these in with JB Weld. It says RTV silicone black. I put them in with JB Weld. Is the Volvo fixed? No. I haven't even worked on the Volvo. I haven't even put extra gas in the Volvo just to see if the gas level is the issue. I was down playing with chainsaws today. Would you rather play with the Volvo or chainsaws? Key inserts. What's the hardest saw to build? Well, I can guarantee you I have not built it. Whatever it is, I have not built it. The where do I get the inserts? eBay. If you're getting Save the Threads, eBay. Or there's probably plenty of other places you can get them. Probably auto parts store. The most annoying saw I've worked on, I think, was the Steel MS290. At least, if I worked on it now, it might not be so bad, but I worked on it twice. I'm not doing that again. I just have no desire to work on that anymore. I've not worked on the 090s or the 070s. I think that would be interesting to do. I just don't know if I'm going to get to it. So I've actually got a little more length that I pre-drilled here in this threaded rod, so I get to save this for later. Nice. Do you guys have anything, requests of stuff that I should build next? I mean, see, I don't have personal need for more saws, so unless I'm doing basically commissioned builds, I'd rather just tinker like this every night for you guys. A pair of 090s for $1,700 each, or for the pair? Some guys want that each. Depending on the condition, of course, it might be worth it. Not to me, but to some people. Hold my 330. Yeah, I think other people feel the same way. Do you recommend carb tuning? The Weeba for sure. That was a good video that he did, and it was a long time ago, but I think it was a really quality video. And the thing is, like, I'll watch a video like that, and one thing that just stands out to me is, like, whenever I do a rebuild, for whatever reason, like, you turn the carb screws and nothing happens, and you're like, wait a minute. It's not working like the guy showed in the video. Well, it means that something else is wrong. So often I do rebuilds and the carb's completely shot, but I didn't know that. Should I save this? Should I save this insert? I'll save the insert. pants I got the other inserts. All carbs can be saved. Sometimes it's just easier to get a brand new carburetor. Why is magnesium so much better? It's lighter. I think it's actually lighter than aluminum, and probably just as strong. But it's more expensive. It's an interesting question, though. Yeah, most of these chassis are magnesium. Personally, I wouldn't care if they gave me an aluminum chassis versus magnesium. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but most of these are magnesium. Just don't catch it on fire, yeah. I've used plenty of torches on magnesium cases, and the likelihood of catching it on fire is probably pretty low. The little pieces sort of flame up, but if it did catch on fire, you'd never put it out. Yeah, some guys love their 028 Supers, and a lot of guys are into their 038s and 380s. Well, Ken, one of the questions that I have is if this is so flammable, how do you weld it? Because that is a darn hot spark that melts the magnesium filler rod. How do you not catch it on fire when you do that? Tim, I have so much trouble with carburetors that I don't even worry about modifying them. Um, I have a bunch of modified carburetors. They don't work. But I don't think it's because of the modification. It's just because the carburetors themselves are so friggin' finicky. Doctor Who with a woman now. It feels wrong. I liked Matt Smith for Doctor Who. Doctor Who in general is a little too... It's too weird for me. It's too British, too weird. I can't really get into it. I can see one episode here or there, and I did like Matt Smith as the Doctor. I don't want a TARDIS. I have no need for a TARDIS. How do we get started talking about Doctor Who again? Oh yeah, that's right. Adirondack problem. Yes, but I'd be messing with the future, and you don't want to do that. Right? Right. Oh, one other thing I did want to mention to everybody that's here, 21 people watching me, holy cow, was in case everybody missed the video the other morning, I modified one of my sets of pliers. This was John Riley's idea, and this set of pliers is now specifically for putting in circlips, especially on the small saws. So kudos to John Riley for coming up with this. I don't know if John's watching, but John, thank you. I saw the modified set of pliers and I figured I'd try it. I think it's going to work great. I'm kind of excited to do that on the 200T build that we have going for Brian and Ryan. As soon as I get the parts in. What's my favorite saw? I have a hard time deciding between a Husky 394 or a 350. I like them both. I could probably get rid of all my 372s and be plenty happy with 394s and 350s. How low should the compression be when you decide to rebuild a 372 XP? Depends on your definition of rebuild. There's a great topic. What constitutes a rebuild? Taking head off? So when was the saw's last rebuild? Is always the question. And what does rebuild mean? I think a rebuild involves bearings. The split case and bearings. And I'm just doing more crankcase splits and fresh bearings these days, mostly because a lot of the saws that I work on have the same bearings on both sides, so that makes things a whole lot easier, plus a whole lot less expensive to do the rebuilds. But what you're talking about, low compression, is, I think you're referring to worn rings. How old is the saw, Patrick? I'm trying to go live here so I can read you in real time. How old is the saw? How many years old? Hey Bob, how's it going? How much does the saws cost 372 that you mentioned? Yikes, 03. Okay, so Patrick, because this is an important point, I want to get to it. Patrick, you have a 15-year-old saw. It's never been rebuilt. Probably time. Do you think the seals are still good? On a 372, what's the harm and crack in the case? None. Because the bearings are the same on both sides. The seals, like a seal and gasket kit, get a highway seal and gasket kit for like what, $12 from HL Supply. Natchies, get a couple of them, so you're going to spend what, $15 on a set of Natchies. So brand new bearings, seals. I mean, it's just not that much money to do, assuming you're doing it yourself. So are you going to risk a brand new top end or brand new rings or whatever on old seals? Don't do it. On a 372, don't do it. Hard to know if bought somebody else trying to get top dollar. So don't buy from somebody else trying to get top dollar. If it's not in primo shape, don't give them top dollar for it. If it's 20 years old, 15, 20 years old, never had a rebuild, the price goes down a lot. JG Blade still wanting to see some stock parts and blow spec. So you're talking about JG. You're talking about the Chinese kits. Yeah, you know, if you okay, let's get terms correct. Define last. So you said stock parts and below spec that last, quote unquote, more than 4 to 5 years. What do you mean last? You mean the top end doesn't blow up, or you mean the fuel tank doesn't crack? Are you talking about a fuel line that breaks? Define last, because there's all kinds of stuff, and this is one of Walt's points. I think it's a really good one. There's all kinds of things that put a saw on a shelf. All kinds of things. And it's not just a blown top end, lean C's, or maybe a cracked, you hook a ring. Those aren't always the things that put saws on shelves. Maybe the oiler stops working for whatever reason. So define last. What do you mean by you want to see a saw last? So I hear that all the time. Steel lasts longer than Husky. Okay, what does that really mean? It means that steels are out in the woods every day, and Huskies get put on a shelf sooner for any reason. Let's be clear about definitions. That's all. I'm going to post my email here so you can have it. So yeah, you can use random aftermarket parts and hop up things. It depends on what your goal is. So a lot of these Chinese saws, the goal I think for a lot of people is just to have fun and learn about building. And because it's relatively inexpensive, why not? Now with the Chinese 660, I think the potential for some reasonable performance is there. So you might want to change out some of those Chinese parts. In particular, the wrist pin bearing. That's my own feeling on it. Some of the rubber. Walt points out that the top handle is a little on the flimsy side. So, okay. I put the Chinese, 3/4 wrap on the thing, and I like it. I think it's pretty sturdy for what I do. Yeah, drop the ampersands on my email. Good topics, guys. Good questions. Keep talking. These are good. How much does the average rebuild cost? I don't think there is such thing. William Eisen, did you get my email last night? I don't remember. Sorry. I'm a little behind on my emails, but send me an email again and remind me. There's no harm in pestering me through email. John, you know who you are. You do that all the time. So, speaking of pestering through email, where's David? Yeah, if I don't respond in like 12 hours, I mean, one of the things about email is that I can email through my phone, but it's not really great. I can't be thorough, so I like to have time at my computer. But if my kids are on there, or I'm outside, I don't get time at my computer. So, sorry about that, guys. Did you put rubber seals in the 200T? I'm not going to put rubber seals in this one, mostly because I'm getting the OEM gasket and seals kit. Here's where I'd recommend rubber seals in the 200T. If you were just changing the seals and not splitting the case, then I definitely recommend rubber seals, and the reason is because they're easier to install. If the crankcase is split, then it's not too bad to press in the Bakelite seals, but the Bakelite seals are they're so easy to break. If anybody wants to see how I do it, there's a couple of videos back of me doing a 200. I'm going to continue doing the 200, so you'll be able to see how I put the Bakelite seals in without breaking them. Oh, the 2X shirts. Yes, I did get that email, and you are on the list for the 2X shirts. It's a hobby you can do when you get older. For sure. What are my other hobbies? Oh, shoot. I think you missed the video last night. Let's see. I started playing piano and trumpet when I was in grade school, so music has been a big part of my life. What I figured out about music was when you put it down, picking it back up's really hard, especially with trumpet. I actually played piano a little bit today, but especially with trumpet is you put it down for a week and you just end up months behind. You lose all kinds of time by putting it down for a week, and I don't play regular, and so it's kind of tough to get back into it. So what I discovered was that building speakers and amplifiers, doing audio, was a whole lot better in the sense that I could put it down and come right back to it if I needed to. So I started doing that. So I started building things. Effectively, I like to build speakers and amplifiers. It was kind of fun. It was because I wanted things that were bigger and better than I could generally afford. And I did that all the way through college and into dental school. And then I got a house and started working on the house, and a lot of the audio stuff kind of fizzled out because I ended up building just about everything that I wanted. So I have, as far as audio is concerned, I have what I want. Don't really need anything else. So I migrated into working around the house, so plumbing and electrical work. I've done, I have one of the largest residential solar hot water setups in all of Connecticut on my house. So I got copper all the way from the roof to the basement. And I love my solar hot water setup. I don't even think about it on a regular basis, but I get in the shower and I know I'm showering for free, which is nice. So I'm pretty comfortable with plumbing, pretty comfortable with electrical work. You guys have seen some of the shed, and I'm really not that good of a carpenter. I really like using the band sawmill. Using the sawmill and making dimensional lumber has been probably one of the most fun things I have done ever. It really is quite a kick to do that. Chainsaws just end up being kind of habit for me. And now that I have these tree guys that I'm hanging out with all the time, they always show up with a saw. It's like, here, fix this, okay. So I'm kind of in the mode of fixing things. So does that answer that question? Buffering again. Am I good? Are we connected? Yeah, we're good. So yeah, so again, thanks to John Riley for the circlip idea. I'm kind of psyched about this. When I do the 200, I'm really, really excited to see how these work out. Still think I gotta narrow that a little bit. Other questions, comments tonight? Anything, guys? Anybody working on anything interesting? I'm just kind of in a holding pattern right now for the tools and everything else. So tomorrow's Monday. Who knows? Hopefully, I'll get notification that that coil shipped out for the 394. A man of very few talents. Watch more YouTube, and you'll get some ambition, and suddenly you'll be a man of many talents. Start small. I did. I learned. I read a lot, mostly on the online forums. Before I did the solar hot water project, let's see, January 2008. I remember January 2008, I received a bill for gas. Now, I've got a 2,300 square foot house built in the 50s with minimal insulation, crappy windows. So my gas bill for just the month of January was $600. And I was very upset to pay that. So I decided something had to be done, and I then proceeded to work on the solar, but also new boiler, brand new boiler, and a radiant heat setup. But in order to do all that stuff, I mean, literally, I was frustrated because August 2008, I remember swearing to myself up and down I would never touch the plumbing system in this house. It was too complex. I didn't understand any of it. It just made no sense at all. So what I ended up doing, I think I sat on a milk crate in the basement looking at the plumbing, looking at the pipes for 3 days. I'm not kidding. I actually sat on a milk crate for 3 days until things started making sense. And I was like, damn it, I'm going to get this. It's going to eventually make sense. And so when it started to make sense, I ended up going to my dad, and he showed me how to sweat copper pipe. So once I knew that, within a week or two, I had most of my cold water line in the house changed over from the old 1/2 inch to 3/4 pipe. And within another month, I had the solar hot water up on the roof, my first iteration of that. And that was quite a job. It was quite an undertaking. There were many nights we stayed up till 7 o'clock in the morning. But I think before I decided on the solar, it took me like 3 months to read and figure out what I wanted out of the solar setup. And a year after I did it, I still tore everything off the roof and made it triple the size. So I literally, I think I read for 3 months on the solar. And I think I did the same thing. I did research online for the sawmill for months before I actually pulled the trigger and bought one. So it was a lot of reading, a lot of trial and error. Believe me, a lot of mistakes. The shed, when I built the shed, I had no idea what I was doing. So there were plenty of times where I would put a wall up and then tore it out because it was like, that's not good, you know. Came to the conclusion I'm not that good of a carpenter. Much better plumber and electrician. At least that's what I think. So read. If you want to know about saws, you can certainly, watch my videos. They're really boring. But hopefully the information in them is fairly well concentrated. Did you build your panel? The solar hot water panels? No, they come... I got evacuated tube panels, and they are 30 tubes per panel, and I have 6 panels, so 180 tubes. You do have to assemble them on the roof, though. And for anybody doing solar hot water, I highly recommend it. But if there's any hope of ground mounting a system rather than roof mounting, I think it's a whole lot better. Plus, if you're anywhere in northern climates, what you want to do is you want to mount your panels basically vertically so that they self-limit in the summertime. Because you don't want lots of hot water in the summertime. You're going to get hot water in the summertime. It's not a big deal. But if you mount the panels vertically, then you catch all the low sun in the wintertime or in the early spring and late fall. Because that's where the real key is you want to maximize early spring, late fall. You want to maximize your yield in those months. Howdy from Tennessee. Howdy, Tennessee. How's the weather down there? Down to 18 people. I am boring. I knew it. I know. All those people left and they went to Buck and Billy Ray's channel, right? I have no idea why I'm doing all these live chats, but I am getting a kick out of it. I hope you guys are having fun too, and you're welcome to ask questions and all that other stuff. Anything else going, guys? Otherwise, I got to get out of here and get the kids to bed. Freeze warning tonight. Yeah, we've had a couple of freezes already. The tomatoes are basically done. Kind of upset. Had to replant 3 times this year. We had too much water. Buggered the cherries. Ugh. What a year. But we had some nice fall weather like last week. You know, 10, 12 pitch roof. Yeah. My roof is not pitched that steeply, but it is kind of flimsy up there. What carburetor would you recommend for the MS660 clone? I have the one that came with it. The only issue that I had with it was that it was sticking initially, and so it was flooding. So I unstuck it, and it actually works okay. If you want to get an OEM carburetor, go for it. I don't have a particular recommendation on that. Yep, Donny Boy here on YouTube, sure. He's got plenty of videos too. Actually, I think he had one of I was watching his on pulling bearings off of cranks using just heat. And I tried it and it didn't work. I was trying to do it just like he did it and it didn't work. I was really disappointed. And then I figured out I needed to get a bearing puller. Tim, you're in a cape. I have a cape also with a steep front and a low pitch back, a dormered back. Yeah, I like the live chat too. I love being able to work with people, and I think this is cool because I can ask you guys what you think if I'm doing something stupid or whatever, or working on a saw, and like I can ask Ken about drill sizes. Or Larry comes up with all kinds of cool ideas like the was it the spark screen on the blowers. I thought that was really nifty. I have no idea how I'm going to get that thing back together because I don't remember how it went how it went together. It came apart, whatever. I have no idea how that's going to go back together. How many dormers? It's one big one. well, there's actually two sections to the house, staggered. So there's a long section, dormered, and then you have the other section, dormered. That makes sense. Should be cleaning things up while we're chatting. That would make sense. Yeah, time for me too, Ken. So I'll say goodnight tonight for you guys, and I appreciate everybody coming, and we will maybe pick this up again tomorrow. Sorry for all the guys that just showed up. Hopefully you can watch the replay of this. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much, okay? Email me, guys, if you need anything. I'll throw my email on here again. Just remove all the ampersands. Modular home built by Discovery. Very cool. All right, everybody, you have a great night, and thanks so much. Appreciate it. Take care and be safe.